Hello, welcome to the first edition of the 2024-2025 off-season show. I'm Benny Bueno. I'm your host for today, and we're about somewhere around 3 months away from the beginning of the season, which, by the way, it starts on November 29th, which happens to be Black Friday, so the day after Thanksgiving. We're hoping we have a nice crowd because most people are off that Friday after Thanksgiving. So come on out, watch us live, watch us at home, watch us on YouTube. But please watch us because we're going to have an exciting roster. Going to have about 9 new players, which in a few seconds I will announce to you. So this is basically just to give you some info about what's coming up in November, last week of November, December, January, and running through February 23rd. We're also working behind the scenes and right now, kind of very quietly, on something very, very special for all the fans and the players alike. And if everything works out the way we are hoping for, that will be the last week of the season in February. So that will keep in the background for now, and hopefully by the time the season starts, everything will be nailed down and we could make what I consider to be a major announcement. Today we're going to just kind of go through quickly who the new players are, and of course announcing the returning players. Unfortunately, the way we do things here seasonally for 3 months, it makes it difficult for some players to be able to return year after year. But the good news is that we have a lot of young prospects that are willing and able and actually very hungry to come and join us in our tournament here for the 3 months. And so for the first time, it wasn't really hard to fill the spots. Last year, I had a little bit of a hard time filling the spots, but this year, believe it or not, we are going to have 22 players on the roster competing, and I had about 6 or 8 other guys that unfortunately, not because they weren't good enough, but just because I didn't have space for them, weren't able to make it this time around. So the fountain is flowing in the Basque Country, in Spain and France, and there are a lot of players that are practicing and progressing and looking to be able to come here and play in the United States at Dania sometime in the future. But this season, we're going to have 9 new guys. And again, we'll get to that in a second. And also, I mentioned the dates, November 29th, Black Friday, through February 23rd. Mark your calendars. We're going to be having 7 performances, very similar to last season or last tournament, where we played Wednesday matinee and evening, 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Thursday and Friday evenings at 7 o'clock. Saturday matinee and evening at 1 and 7. And a Sunday matinee at 1 p.m. So we're going to have a kind of a special holiday calendar this year because the way that Christmas and New Year's fall, it falls on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and we want to give the players a break to be with their family and friends, and we also want to give the fans the opportunity to rest as well on Christmas and on New Year's with your family. So rather than playing a double performance on Christmas and New Year's, what we're going to do is we're going to close Wednesday, so that Wednesday will be dark, and the following day, Thursday, we'll play a double, a matinee at 1 and an evening performance at 7. More on that as we get closer. The great Dave Lamont or Dave Lemon, whoever's announcing in that time period, will remind you of our holiday schedule. We are days away from updating our webpage for Highlight. We're going to be uploading the player info, the player bios, the calendar, the dates, the times. You won't see any betting information probably until mid-November because that's when I'll start to make the programs and the schedule. But the layout of games is going to be very similar with 9 games, with the exception of Saturday nights where we're going to add a 10th game singles. And that'll be in the month of December. And in January, once the partidos start, we will start playing partidos Friday nights, which will be game 10, and continue with the Saturday night game 10 singles match. So we're going to play a qualifier in the month of December, very similar to last year, and every game counts. Every game, the players make 5 points for a win, 3 points for a second, and 1 point for a show. There is no points for a quad in the Superfecta games, but 5, 3, 1 all throughout the month of December. And then the first partita will be the first Friday in January, which off the top of my head, I believe it's the 6th, or it might be the 3rd, I'm sorry. Anyways, the first Friday of January will be the first qualifying or disqualifying partido, where the players will play a initial round, then they'll play a quarterfinal, semifinal, and a final round, which will be 1 week before the end of the season. We'll have a championship partida when we'll crown the new champion. So without further ado, let's get to the players and who's going to be playing this season. We are very excited to have most of the guys back. We're going to have 2 returning players that you're going to recognize. We're bringing them in as new players, but one of them played in the first tournament, and another one played back in 2019, 20, and 21 until we ended up decoupling and closing, and he went back to Spain and France and played in the summer partidos and is doing very well, and we're very happy to have him back. So without any further ado, here is your 2024-25 playing roster. We start off with number 11, Gorka Mugartegi Solazabal, which is actually number 11, Atine. He is the son of Josu Atine that played here back in the 90s. And he's 20 years old now, and he's doing very well, playing a lot of partidos in the summer in Spain and France. And he was actually the backcourt champion in the previous tournament here at Dania Beach. Next, we have number 12, Urrutia, which he also is a fan favorite. Everybody loves this kid. He's fire. He's out there, running and jumping, and very emotional in his partido play. Didn't quite make it to the final this year, but he did play very well. Made it deep in the bracket, and 23 years old, spunky guy. I know everybody loves him, and we're very happy to have him back. Next, we have another youngster, number 13, Benetrix, 22 years old, from Osegor, France. This kid came the first season, first tournament, competed, he did well. He didn't do great, obviously, his debut season, but he showed great improvement last year in the previous tournament, and we're happy to have him back as well. He's another guy that his ceiling is very high, and he is going to be an excellent player in the future. Next, we bring back for the second time number 14, Oyardi. A lot of people like to call him Chef Boyardi or Chef Oyardi. 21 years old, from Guernica, Spain. Great kid, very strong. Needs to hone in his mental game a little bit, and once he starts to use his mental game alongside of his physical game, he's going to be one of the better players in the game. He's strong on both sides, and he knows how to play the game. He's got a good teacher in Guernica, Spain, and we're happy to have him back too. Next, we have Daniel Mandiola Goyogana from the Goyogana High Life family. All of you aficionados of High Life for many years know that the Goyogana name is it's a pedigree. His pedigree comes from a great family of High Life players. Number 21, Daniel, playing the backcourt. 24 years old, strong on both sides, good partner. I would say that most players, front quarters, enjoy playing with him because he's strong and he's very effective with his left side and his right side as well. Next, we have number 20, Zugaitz, coming back for the second season. Last year, he played very well. 27 years old. He's kind of one of the older guys on the roster. He's not the oldest, but he's up there, 27. He's here for his second season. One thing I like about Zugaitz is this kid, he's on the court every day at 6 p.m. practicing, and he's out there training, and he never takes a day off. So we're happy to have him back. Strong player, great with the left side. Last year, he dyed his hair blonde. I'm hoping that he either brings back the blonde hair or maybe, I don't know, green or something else this season. Next, we have number 25, Chanica from Ondarribia, Spain. He's a good kid, strong player, another one that practices a lot, has a high ceiling. He's playing in some competitions in the Basque Country as we speak. He actually played last week in his hometown. I'm sure that everybody there was very happy to have him and to see him. 22 years old, another youngster coming back for the second time. He's a feisty little guy in the front court, throws a lot of costals, a lot of two walls, cortadas. He's got all the shots. Again, he is in his second year, so we're hoping that we see a little bit of improvement from him. Again, a very high ceiling for improvement from Chanica. Next, we have number 27, Libois. I used to call him Le Boys when I first started announcing his name. And then the great Dave Lamont told me that his name is probably announced Libois. And so we started calling Emmerich Libois rather than Le Boys. 21 years old, young kid, tall front quarter at 6'1". He's kind of like I was in the front. You know, there's not a lot of tall front quarters, but this kid's good, man. He's got a lot of shots, got a good two walls, left side. Strong player. I think that we're going to definitely see some improvement from him, and I'm pretty sure that he's going to make it deep into the bracket this season. Next, we have number 30, Oresti. 20 years old. Let me tell you, this kid, he's going to be one of the future superstars of the sport, if he isn't already. He played in the finals partido last year, lost by 1 point. I mean, we might as well just, call him runner-up, but a true champion in my opinion. He definitely had a great season, great tournament, very competitive. He's very sneaky up there with his two walls and his drop shot inside. Now he's playing all the major tournaments over there in Spain. I'm very happy. I was a little worried, to be honest with you, that he was going to be able to return because there's a lot of demand for him in the Basque Country, both in Spain and France. He won the World Championship under 22 last year, previous to coming here to Dania in Mexico, and very strong player. Hopefully he makes it to the final and he gets his redemption and he's able to close it up. Next, we have Aron. I call him Double A-Ron. He is from Vitoria, Spain. A lot of great players come from that town. 25 years old. Again, he's one of the older kids on the roster. Another tall front quarter, strong from both sides. At 6'1", he's got a pretty big wingspan and throws hard from the left side and from the right side. You know, I really am pushing for Aaron in these tournaments because I know he can make it deep, and he did the first season, and then he had I wouldn't say a bad showing on his part. It's just his team couldn't get it, make it happen, and so the expectation this year is pretty high for Aaron, and I think that he's going to come through and put on a good show this season. Next, we have Theo Lebord from Saint Juan de Luz, France, 26 years old. Pretty steady backquarter, 6'2", 185 pounds. He's not big and strong, but he's just a solid catcher, and he's always in position. Another guy that talks a lot on the court, great communication with his partner. When I think back of the partners that I had when I was a front quarter, Theo has a lot of the things that I like in a partner. He's always behind you. He's always calling you off if he's there. He's always willing to make the catch if you have it a little bit difficult. So that's very it's a confidence builder for your partner in the front court if you know that your backcourt's going to be steady and ready when you need him. So it's great to see him, and I'm glad that he's back. And I think that this year, again, there's only going to be a spot for two teams in that final, but I expect him to make it deep into the finals this season. Next, we have number 72, a backcourter, Cabanillas, Julian Cabanillas Bueno. You already know. I love the last name. 20 years old. He's a youngster. He played here last season, so this is his second time around in the competition. He played well. You could tell that he was had a lot of room for improvement, and he and I talked a little bit during the off season when I contacted him to see if he was willing to come back. He was happy to come back. He's been practicing and training, and now in his second year, we're going to expect a little bit more from him. I think he's up for the task. Again, 20 years old. He's a youngster. He's got a lot of time to learn and also a lot to learn. So Cabanillas will be back for his second season, and we're extremely happy to have him. Next, you have not one, but two-time runner-up, number 96, Oyenard, a backcourter, 25 years old, Guillen Oyenard, once again coming back. He's actually coming back for his third time. In the very first competition, he made it to the final match and got second place. And last year as well, last year with Aresti, they lost by 1 point. He also was the runner-up last year. So two-time runner-up. Very strong backcourter, solid, great left side. I would say the best left side on the roster. Strong. He's a good partner to have. He's always behind you. He's the kind of guy that he always wants to play. He wants to play every game. Came to my office last year and said if there was any way to put him in every single game, that's what would make him the happiest. So very happy to have Oyenard back. Hopefully this time he makes it to the final match again and has a different result. So very happy to have Oyenard back for the third time. And last, but certainly not least, we have number 99, Vicente. Vicente was our 2023-24 Triple Crown winner. He won, not only did he win the competition as far as all the partidos that he played, he also won the singles championship, and he won the most wins championship. The first season that he played here, this is his third time. The first time around, he also made it deep into the finals and was very competitive in the most wins category. And this year, he is going to try to repeat his Triple Crown from last year. So, again, a strong player, sneaky in the front court, inside, outside, moves the ball around great. A very emotional player on the court. It's great to have him back for the third time. Again, another player that did so well in our last competition. I was worried that somebody was going to offer him something to go somewhere else, but fortunately he is committed to coming back and trying to defend his title. So number 99, Vicente, 25 years old. Very happy to have him back too. A returning player, and this is one of the guys that I mentioned earlier on, number 86, Portet. Portet was here in the first competition in 2023 or 22-23, and he did well. He did very well. Another very steady backcourter, always in position, has a great left side, great right side. Again, you could have confidence that he's going to be backing you up. And I would say not only a fan favorite when he was here the first time, I think a partner favorite. I think that all the partners that played with him, when they saw their team together in any of the Canellas, they were very happy to see him. So 29 years old. He is the veteran of the squad this year at 29. Since our previous veteran retired, now we have Jerome taking the spot of the elder statesman here on the roster at 29 years old. Next, we have another returning player, a kid that I think everybody was very happy when he was here, showing a lot of promise. Unfortunately, he is one of a small group of players in 2021 that was really starting to come into his own, was really starting to show his value on the court as far as a prospect. he was starting to move up in ranks in the roster as far as the Canelas are concerned. And then unfortunately we had the 2021 decoupling law that came into effect, and we here at Dania decided that we were going to stop playing, at least for a while. Everybody thought it was forever, and unfortunately we kind of went back to the drawing board and did a couple of things to make it come back, even though it's seasonal, but we're back. But Gorga was one of the guys, him and his brother Johan and some other players that were around the same age at that time, that were really affected by the closure. And so Gorga's been playing in Spain, France. He played for Team USA in one of the competitions a couple of seasons ago, and he's a strong backcourter. He's the son of Sorozabal that used to play in Milford back in the 90s and 2000s. He's the brother of Johan Sorozabal, which is now really moving up the ranks quickly in all of the tournaments in Spain and France. And Gorka, he's another one. He trains hard. He's always out there practicing. And we're really, me and I think everybody else is really happy to be able to give him the opportunity, and for him to be able to take advantage of the opportunity to come back to play with us here for this competition. Then next we have a brand new player. We have Urca Lequerica, and he's 24 years old. You might recognize the name Lequerica. He is the younger brother of Unai Lequerica, which is none other than number 59 Leque, that played here for a couple of weeks last season. And he played here again prior to 2021. This is his younger brother. His younger brother has been wanting to come to play with us for quite some time. Really haven't had the opportunity. Didn't have room on the roster. Then he studies, and we had a couple of conversations back and forth. But now we're really happy to finally get him here and finally get him on the roster. And at 24 years old, he's young. He's still considered a prospect. It's going to be his debut season, not only here in the United States, but professionally. So we expect a lot from him. Hopefully he will get the world of Quinielas down fairly quickly, because it's a different world than what he's used to playing partidos. But we're going to expect a lot from him, because he comes in as a strong prospect. Next, we have a player coming from Guernica, Spain as well, and his name is Ibon Urrutia. I'm going to have to practice that. Me and Dave Lamont will sit in a room and go over all these names until we get them down right. But Urrutia is a big guy, 6'3", 200 pounds. 26 years old. He's not old. He's not young, but he's right in there. Also, another player. He was on the list to come last year, but since we didn't get him signed early enough, he went off to study in university, and so we couldn't make it happen. By the time I wanted to talk to him about coming over, he was already committed to school. So we talked early this year, and we locked him in. Signed him to come and play for this tournament. I hear a lot of good things about him. Watched a lot of video on him. Comes recommended by Diego Bascochea, which is Diego that used to play here, number 22, a few years back. He is kind of in charge of the amateurs and professionals coming out of Guernica. So he comes highly recommended, and we are definitely expecting a lot from him. Next, we have another new player, number 38, Celaya, front quarter, 19 years old. He happens to be the youngest player on the roster, making his professional debut here. Also a big, tall guy for a front quarter at 6 feet. You might recognize the name Celaya. There was a Celaya that played here at Dania Highlight in the 90s and early 2000s. Martin is the nephew of Celaya that played here many years ago. Number 38, 19 years old. He's making his debut as well. Again, I'm hoping that he adapts quickly to the Canela style of play. Watched a lot of video on him as well. He's also playing a lot of tournaments over there now. He's got a lot of shots. A great costal, great drop shot, inside, outside, two walls, good rebote. So I think that if in fact he comes in and he practices and gets his serve down and the important things, I think that he'll be a force to be reckoned with in this championship. Next, we have Victor, number 55, Victor Hernandez, 22 years old, another youngster, debuting here at Dania Beach Highlight. All I can say about Victor is he was brought to my attention by somebody from San Sebastian that mentioned a kid that plays there that doesn't really get a lot of recognition, doesn't really play in a lot of the big tournaments as far as his level of play, because it's a little different in the Basque Country where they do have different levels of play. The highest being the elite, where you have guys like Aritz and Goicoechea and Lopez playing in those competitions, and then all the way down to a pro-am tournament participant and even a top-ranked amateur. And he was playing in all these, or he wanted to play in a lot of these, but for whatever reason he was never really invited or picked up. And somebody brought to my attention that he's out there and that he's a good player. And recently I've seen him in a couple of competitions. As a matter of fact, he was playing against a couple of the guys that I just mentioned and will be mentioned in a few seconds. So he's in that realm of competing at his level. When he comes here, he's going to have to level up. There's going to be some players with some more experience than him. Guys like Benetrix and Oresti that are here for the third time. They already know the court. They know the Canella system. So he's going to have to come in again, train and practice hard, and get his game up to the level of the other players. At 22 years old, I think he's got a little bit of time before he becomes a superstar. Next, we have another player coming from Bayonne, France, number 63, Iturralde, another name that I'm going to have to practice. When I say Iturralde, Urrutia, I'm going to go back and forth, and thank goodness they're both backquarters and they won't be playing together, so we won't have to announce both of their names at once. But again, Aizejan Iturralde, 26 years old. He's been playing for quite some time in France. He plays all the major tournaments in Biarritz and Saint-Juan-de-Luz. And he was supposed to come last year and play, and we had some conversations early on, and then during the summer in one of the competitions there, he had a knee injury, had to have knee surgery and extensive rehabilitation. He might have been ready for December to come play, but I don't think that either he or I wanted to take that chance. So we stayed in contact. He's been rehabbing all year long. He's starting to play some of the competitions over there, slowly making it back to his level. And we're looking forward to seeing what he brings to this tournament here at Dania. For a backquarter at 5'7", he's not a real big guy, but that's okay. I mean, we've seen some shorter backquarters that are strong and still have good positioning. So we're going to expect him to make it deep into this competition. Next, we have number 88, Garcia, front quarter from Bidart, France, 23 years old. He also will be debuting here this tournament. Some of you might remember from years back, his father played under the name Garcia. He didn't play much in the United States, but he did play in tournaments in Spain, mostly France, in Mexico. That's where I met him, in Mexico City, in a tournament that he was competing in. And we've been in contact. Son's 23 years old. He just graduated from the university, so now he has his schooling out of the way, and he's ready to focus and dedicate himself 100% to Highline. And we're happy to have him here. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your 2024-2025 Dania Beach Invitational player roster. That was a mouthful. I actually got to rest and relax for a second, looking down instead of having to look up at the camera and talk. But so that's the information we got for you right now. Some Probably another 2 shows will be coming before we start, just to give you any updates or any changes. Hopefully there won't be any changes, but we're at the point where we're going to start getting the court ready. One thing I did want to mention, because this is important for everybody to know, and it's not really information that was shared in the past, but it's not really a secret, but this year we have bought brand new highlight pelotas. So the pelotas, I really should do a segment on how pelotas are made, how they are prepared, how they are slowly brought into the games, how they affect the game, how they affect the players, how they affect the movement on the court, positioning. There's a lot to it, but just, getting it out there. We bought 100 new balls. And these balls will eventually come into play. I think that once they do come into play, everyone's going to notice that they're new balls. They have a better sound. They have more movement. They're faster. Fortunately, there is a process for them to get in the game. And I'll give you the very brief version. The balls are made, pans of rubber, sliced into pieces, rolled into balls, nylon put on, goatskin put on. So you have your 100 balls that are made. There's a process. I'll mention it some other time because it's a little lengthy. So once the balls are made, we bring them here and we use them in the practices. What happens is once you throw the ball against the wall, maybe a dozen times, the inside starts to shift and settle. So it takes 2 or 3 practices, sometimes 2, sometimes 5 practices for the ball to completely settle. So what happens is they'll throw the ball for a dozen or 2 times. They'll bring it into the shop. Our ball maker, Paco, will take the skins off. He'll reset it. He'll get them all ready. And then after 2-3 practices, we'll slowly start to phase them into the game. What we usually do is we have 3 brand new balls that we'll put in a game, and we won't mix the current balls with the new balls because it's a huge difference, and you'll notice the difference. And so what we want to do is gradually get the players used to these balls so that it would flow nicely into the second half of the season. So why do I mention this? Well, because when the new balls come out, they're new and they're different, and some of them are faster. Most of them are faster because they're newer. The rubber is fresh, they bounce better, but that's the good side. The bad side is that you might see some overserves. You might see some rebotes that bounce and just shoot over the backcourter's head, which is a good thing. So I think what I'm trying to say is that the players have to adapt to the new balls as well. So we're going to gradually get to that point. And I'm very happy because every time we get new balls, it brings an excitement to the game that the old balls don't. The new balls sound better. Like you're going to hear the clack, and it's going to sound like a rock. Once they settle and they're on the court a couple of times, you're going to see the ball moving. A guy's going to throw a shot, and it's going to be like a ricochet. So we're very excited about that. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I think that I've mentioned it all for now. If you'll excuse me. I hope you're enjoying this. If it's the morning and you're watching the show, I hope you're enjoying your coffee. If it's happy hour and you're enjoying the show, I hope you're enjoying your chiquiteo, your small glass of wine. If it's bedtime and you're watching this right before you go to bed, I hope you're enjoying your tea. And if for whatever reason you woke up in the middle of the night because you couldn't sleep and you needed to watch the off-season show, I hope you're enjoying your bourbon. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Benny Bueno. Very nice to have spoken to you today, and we'll see you soon. That's good. Cosas, making sure all the cosas are working well. I really don't like to hear myself talking when I'm doing these kind of things. So that was a mistake. That was a mistake. I was trying to do that. And here we go.